Do you feel supported? Being emotionally uncomfortable is part of the process of growth, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, which is why I've opened my doors. We are now accepting applications for what I want to call a coaching open house. Head on over to Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/join. All you have to do is click, fill out a few questions, and we will be in touch. We're actually going to give you access to the inside of what my coaching experience is like, even before you decide to commit. I'm all about quality over quantity. And sometimes we don't know what we actually need, especially when I teach about this messy middle of how to recreate your identity, your actions in alignment with how you want to feel. So if you've been listening to this podcast or you've read my book or you've been leaning in, now is the time to jump on board if you are interested in coaching with me or in my community in 2023. heatherchauvin.com/join. Before we dive into the rest of the podcast, I wanted to give a huge shout out to Wired for Success with Claudia. The host is Claudia Garbutt, and she is a scientist and a mindset and high performance coach. Go check it out anywhere you listen to podcasts online, Wired for Success. Claudia interviewed me and we talked. I actually really, really enjoyed our conversation. We talked about life lessons from fighting cancer, living in your growth edge and embracing the struggles, and getting uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Every time someone interviews me, I always talk about things that I don't always talk about on my own podcast. So go check it out. That is episode 124. 124 on Wired for Success. I like talking about subjects that nobody else is talking about. It's almost like there's these pink elephants in the room and everyone knows it secretly, but they're just not communicating it. I get DMs constantly from women. I hear it from my friends and colleagues in the industry, even the ones that are promoting manifestation and living your best life and thriving and not burning out and connection and all the things. And I just don't understand why people are not directly having this specific conversation. So I guess that's my purpose. And I'm going to tell a personal story today. And, you know, maybe there's a little part of me that is worried about judgment, but not huge part of me. And I think the reason why there's not a huge part of me that's worried about judgment is because I know that I'm not alone in this, and a lot of people don't talk about it. And that is fear and panic, and stress when it comes to being a breadwinner, when it comes to running a business while raising children, taking care of yourself. I think we culturally see conversations or memes or anything like that where we're talking about, mental health and emotional well-being. And not everybody is practicing what they preach. And actually people are not even practicing. They're preaching it. But they're putting out these trendy terms for the sake of putting out these trendy terms, but they're not actually doing the emotionally uncomfortable work because, again, you have to feel in order to heal. So today we're going to be talking about panic attacks and pure joy. I'm going to share my own personal story. I'm going to share my theory on this. And I'm hoping that by me sharing my story and the things that I do to support myself, it will help you. So this last month, my husband and I and our 3 children, plus another child, so we had 4 kids, 18, 13, 2 18-year-olds, 13 and 10, we spent a month in Mexico. And at the end of the month, I was hosting a women's leadership retreat that this is year 2 that I've hosted it. So I've done this before. And this is something that I talk about your next level vision. I talk about what do you want? How do you want to feel? I attract a lot of professional women raising children who are trying to balance work-life balance. And you have to feel your feelings. You have to feel your emotions. But there's a lot of information out there that's either go to this side of the pendulum and meditate, work out, drink your green juice, do all the things. And then this side of the pendulum, which is feel your feelings deeply, but not a lot of people talking about the messy middle and co-creation. And that's kind of where I like to live, because I can feel my fear, but I also still want to live in a state of joy. I don't want to be stuck in a state of fear or panic. So here's my personal story. The last year has been incredibly challenging for me on I would say, an identity perspective. My kids getting older. Nobody talks about the grief that happens, the identity shift when your children, quote unquote, don't need you anymore. By the way, your children still need you, but actually they need you in a deeper way, an emotional way. It's really about, emotionally being there for your children and creating that energetic connection. So just new level, new devil, right? So I'm growing there, both personally and professionally. I'm taking bigger risk. I'm going after what I want. I'm taking incredible care of my health. Everything's actually doing really great, thriving in my life, in all areas of my life, right? Let's just add COVID on top of that, ups and downs, whatever. But no crisis, just incredibly challenging. Anytime that I have had crisis in my life, or anytime I've been challenged in my life, has usually come from a state of crisis. So I say there's no back doors, right? You're backed into a corner and the only way out is through. But what happens when you are actively trying to challenge yourself when you are not in a state of crisis? You just want to grow, right? You're still feeling the challenge. So my husband and I, the kids, decide to leave for a month. Okay. So at the same time, I still have my own stressors. But I have this weird, and I'm sure it's something from my childhood. You can analyze me if you want, if that makes you feel better about yourself. But as a small child, I'm pretty sure it's probably some attachment thing to my mother. My parents were divorced, and I've always had this anxiety when I leave home. So it's I want to be home, but I also want to be traveling. I want to be in 2 places at once. And I feel maybe something happened. I was split when I had to go back and forth from my parents. By the way, if you're divorced parents, you're not screwing up your kids by being human. Your kids are going to be screwed up. So we have to take the pressure off ourselves that all trauma comes from the mother. That's a whole other podcast conversation that I'm sure I'll have eventually. But I've always had this thing where I want to be at 2 places at once. And every time we travel, I'm excited, I'm elated, I'm having those moments, but pretty quickly, I typically want to come back home. So my husband actually made a comment that he's I don't think you're going to last the whole month. And I was well, I kind of have to, because I'm hosting a retreat at the end of the month. So number 1, dream big, right? Dream big. Number 2, take the risk. So I take the risk. We do all the things. We're making it happen. The flights are booked. The place is rented. We're setting aside time, all the things. Kids, we set up the stuff with the school. Everything's happening. We're on the plane. We're getting there. We're doing the thing. And I can feel this, like, before we left, I had this sense of like panic, just a few stressful things in my life. And it affects my sleep because most of the time you're busy, your brain is busy during the day. And then when your body's starting to calm down, that's where all your stress is coming up and out, right? So it's like whatever keeps you up at night, that's the thing. So there was a few nights where I started to freak out before we left at night. But I have my toolbox and I know that it's just my body, like, trying to tell myself something. And then during the day, I can utilize my tools to calm down my nervous system, which I did. But then I get and put myself in this environment where I already know that it's going to add a next level of discomfort for me, emotional discomfort, especially when, traditionally my body, and keyword is my body. My body wants to be in two places at once. It wants to be at home and it wants to be traveling. So I'm now traveling, and where does my body want to go? It wants to go home. But there's no back doors. The only way out is through. I'm not coming home early. I'm staying there. So I have to sit with my shit. I have to sit with my feelings. And of course, it's not just happening within me. My children are reflecting this back to me. Not all of them are world travelers or love to be world travelers. And I'm sitting there, and I would say I had 3 panic attacks at night. One really, really bad one, where I had to wake up my husband. I had to have a conversation with him and just mentally dump it out. And then it happened a few more times. And nobody talks about this. Nobody. They will tell you the perfect solution or strategy or step-by-step on how to get XYZ result, which I can help you do that too. But nobody talks about, because it's not sexy and nobody wants to scare you, that when you actually say yes to what your soul craves, you have to heal. Like, you've ignited the healing journey, and healing is fucking painful. And nobody talks about this. Well, I know some people do, but generally nobody talks about this. Healing is so emotionally uncomfortable. That is why people will spend decades talking about their problems and circling around the healing, but won't actually heal. Because when you actually begin to heal, it's like you've jumped into the deep end of a pool and you had water wings on when you jumped into the pool. But when you jump into the pool, you realize that there's a hole in both water wings, and your life preserver, I'm saying life preserver, but your little water wings are now starting to deflate and you're starting to panic. And it comes back to self-trust. Regardless of the science of why your body is going into a state of fight or flight or freeze, in that moment, from an emotional standpoint, you have to sit with your emotional reaction to your situation and come back to self-trust. So there's 2 things I do. Anytime my brain goes into a crisis state, fight or flight, I have to talk myself off the ledge, right? You are fine. You are safe. You are here. Your fears are not real. And I have to just talk myself out, and I have to wait until my body calms down. You can take a cold shower. You can drink some water, do some jumping jacks, go for a walk, just try to move the energy a little bit. But then the next day, what I have to do is not abandon myself. And by not abandoning myself, I ask myself, what do I need? So sometimes I talk to the panic. Hey, body, what do you need from me? What do you need from me to feel safe to leave my body? What do you need to feel safe to grow, right? To feel safer. And your body will tell you what it needs. It might say you need to run, you need more nourishment, you need less caffeine, you need more hydration, you need to send that, that email, you need to have that emotionally uncomfortable conversation. It will tell you what it needs. You just have to have the courage to do the work. Now, a quick break for today's sponsor, Athletic Greens AG1. I've been using them for a while now, and it's become a part of my daily life. And not only that, I am absolutely loving that without trying to convince anyone in my house, they started using this too. This is the magic of developing those habits and just becoming the type of person that takes daily care of their health. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews. It's recommended by professional athletes and trusted by leading health experts. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune boosting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit Athletic Greens, ATHLETIC greens.com/EU for emotionally uncomfortable. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/EU to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now back to today's episode. So I did that. Every day in Mexico, I was like, what do you need? And I went to the gym. I did all the things. Okay. I did all the things that I teach. But the reason why I'm recording today's podcast specifically is because nobody talks about this messy middle. They talk about the good and the thrival, but nobody talks about like the actual pain of healing. And I think this is why people give up on manifestation. This is why people give up on their goals, because it's so intriguing to me when I'm talking to friends and colleagues. They're like, yeah, it hasn't been easy. And I'm like, but what does that mean? People want to know what your uneasy is. And it's so fucking refreshing when somebody is willing to say, be careful what you wish for because you might actually get it. So for my own personal belief system and my way of being in the world, when I talk about panic attacks and pure joy, what I mean is the way that I strategically live my life is, Heather, what do you want? I make my list. I ask my husband, what do you want? Wouldn't it be nice if, like, what do you want to attract more of in our lives? Then I ask myself, how do you want to feel? Knowing that the way that I want to feel will not be there 100% of the time. Like it's 100% guaranteed that if I say I want to feel alive and energized, I have to realize that aliveness also means deep, deep fear. Like that is aliveness. That's part of being alive. But I have to be willing to feel that. So first I get clear on what it is that I want and desire. Second, I get clear on what is that feeling. Then I get to work on my strategy, the plan. And this is what I teach inside of my programs, whether it's one of my personal programs or one of my business professional programs. Then you work on your strategy, right? You're working, you're course correcting, you're pivoting. But as you're taking action, courageous action, like action where you're not giving yourself a back door, where you're not leading with your excuses. You're not saying, I don't have time. I don't have the money. People won't let me. What if? Like you have jumped into the messy middle. And if you've jumped into the messy middle, you know exactly what I'm talking about because you felt it too. Panic sets in. Your body and your brain is now going from what you wanted, which was once a dream, to becoming who you want to be and how you actually want to feel. And that becoming is a birthing process. That becoming is the caterpillar to the butterfly. That becoming is emotionally uncomfortable. So while I was in Mexico, it felt like it was a desire of mine and ours, and talked to my husband and we made the decision, took the big leap, the courageous action, jumped into the deep end, did all the things, the planning and the strategy to get there. It took us like 12 months in advance to make all this happen. plus spending that much time with your children, 24 hours a day. It was like COVID all over again with palm trees. Plus preparing for a retreat, which went amazing. And I'm sure I'll have another podcast on that. But at night, when I had this feeling, there was one thing that I didn't do. I didn't attach meaning to the feeling. I allowed it to pass through me. And I literally, every time I was like, okay, how did I get here? What is this? Is it a lack of action? What is the lesson that I need to learn? Is there something I need to do tomorrow to double down on emotional regulation to help my body heal and to process this? I just wanted to have this conversation because I see so many people take the steps to what they want and desire, and they get to the edge of the pool and they're looking at the deep end. They have their, water wings on. I don't know why I'm not saying life preserver, but they have their water wings on. And that's as far as they get because they're so scared to jump in, because they're so afraid of their feelings. They're so afraid of what if they fail. They're so afraid of the opinions of others. And I'm telling you right now that if you want to know what you need to heal from, you just have to jump. You have to leap. And what you need to heal will come up and out. And here's the even funnier part. I don't know what it is that my body needed to heal from. All I know is that the fact that I chose my desire and continued to move forward, that was healing in itself. Because as the pain came up, as the panic came up, and I knew how to manage it, I knew how to ask for support, I knew how to not abandon my needs in my body, I healed quicker. I healed quicker than just circling around my desire for years and years and years and years and decades. And that's how, I see so many women do that. And then they wonder why they're not happy. They wonder why there's no alignment. Because the pain of staying where they are is more comfortable than the emotional discomfort of where they go. And although, I did have some sleepless nights, and although the panic did feel intense, the intensity was also equivalent to the amount of joy I was open to receiving. So my intention for today is just to let you know that you're not alone. And if you are somebody who's on this how can I journey, and you are done playing the victim of your life and you want to be the creator of your life, and you're taking action on what you want and desire, it's okay if you're scared. It's okay if it feels messy. It's okay if you have no idea what you're doing. That is part of the journey. You just need to know how to take care of yourself to make sure you don't burn out when those big emotions do pop up to the surface, because that's mastery. That's taking ownership for how you want to feel. But contrast of what you don't want to experience, that's part of the journey. And that's 100% guaranteed. And it's not that scary. I'm here. I'm alive. I didn't stay in it long. I didn't get stuck in the emotion. I knew what I needed to do. And I'm happy to have a deeper conversation about this. So if you struggle with this, send me a DM on Instagram at Heather Chauvin. Also, if you are a business owner, I've decided I want to have more in-depth strategic conversations, specifically around attracting profit in your business. So if you are a female founder of a business that is generating 6 or 7 figures, head on over to Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/profit. That is a private podcast. It's called Emotionally Uncomfortable, Attracting Profit. It's free. You just have to opt in for it. And we're talking all things sales. We're talking all things work-life balance. We're talking all things, what happens in our relationships as we grow bigger, how to manage team, all the things. So head on over to heatherchauvin.com/profit. And profit to me is money, time, and energy. I believe we can attract profit. We just need to have the emotional intelligence skills. We need to know how to communicate and lead from a healthy, empowered place. And you need to have a good strategy behind you and good mentorship. And stop giving yourself back doors. Stop opting out of what you want in your life. Because if you keep opting out, you just circle around what your soul craves. And that is so fucking expensive. So stop wasting your money on shit that's not working and start investing in jumping in the deep end with your water wings on and then vomiting and shitting your pants because those big feelings come up and out. That's to me is where the healing happens. And that's what emotionally uncomfortable is all about.
When I decided to leave my corporate job, I knew that I needed someone to help guide me. I was taking a huge risk, going back to school and starting my pregnancy and postpartum health coaching business. And the fear of failure was real. Heather has given me so much more than just being a guide. I'm learning how to be honest with myself, how to move through life with confidence and grace, and how not to let fear keep me from the life that I want. She's pushed me to do hard things and helped me put a system in place to make sure that I have enough time for all the things that I love while kicking ass and being productive. I can be a great mom, I can go to school, and build a business. Those are not mutually exclusive. I am way further along in my business journey than I ever imagined I could be, already making money, and I'm fired up by the prospect of actually starting to help pregnant and postpartum mamas feel their best. Heather's support and the community has been key in that process. It can be really scary to invest in yourself, but those investments pay off.